Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing like a rainbow Smokey eye. This is definitely inspired by James Charles and my friend Skylar here on YouTube. If you see me just like singing or lip syncing, then know I was listening to music while doing this. Okay, so just ignore what I'm doing right now. I realized I forgot to prime. So now I'm taking my Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in the shade Light, and I'm just putting those on both of my eyelids. I'm going to be blending it out with my Morphe sponge. You can obviously use whatever you want. If you prefer to use a brush, you can. So going back into that bright red shade from the Morphe palette, the Morphe 3502, or actually 350, I'm just putting that on my crease, and I'm just really packing it on to get as much pigment as I can. Then I'm going into the shade Hunts and Jacks on the Jaclyn Hill palette with Morphe, and I'm just going to be putting that in that same place to kind of deepen it up. I don't want the red to pull too orange when I add the orange in and blend that out. So now I'm taking the mix of the two oranges above that bright red we used, and I'm taking that on the middle part of my eyelid. And I brought these eyeshadows up pretty far. If you want to leave it like more on your lid, you can do that. Obviously, it's your choice. And I used a smaller brush for this just to make it a little more pigmented. Now I'm taking Creamsicle on the inner corner, and I'm just, again, packing that on. I'll blend everything out now with a bigger, fluffy crease brush from Wet n Wild. Now I'm taking a small brush, and I'm just taking Hunts and Jacks again, and I'm running that on the lower lash line. And I'm only taking that halfway, because then I'm taking Creamsicle on the other half to kind of blend it out. And where it meets, it kind of makes an orange. That's why I didn't put the orange down. I'm just kind of adding some more red and oranges to kind of bring the pigment back, because once I blend it, it does kind of go away. Now I'm taking the yellow shade from the Yes Please palette from ColourPop, and if you're happy with the Jaclyn Hill shade, you can just leave it at that. I wanted to use this to bring a little bit more color back and just have a little bit more of a pop. Now on the other eye, I'm using the shade Royalty, and we're going to be doing the same thing I did with the red, where I just pop it in the outer part of my eye. And I'm packing this on again. Royalty is a shimmer shade, but if you use a fluffy crease brush like I did, the shimmer doesn't show up as much as if you were to use a flat brush. Now I'm taking the shade Twerk and Jada, and I'm just putting that on the middle part. Now I'm taking the shade Pool Party over that. This is definitely a very bright shimmer, and it pops out more than Royalty does. That's why I kind of layered both of them. Now I'm taking Enchanted, and I'm just going to put this just a tiny bit. Don't use as much as I did, except now I'll have to blend this out, and it did end up looking a little bit darker than I would have liked it to. But just take the tiniest bit and put that on your inner corner for kind of like a base of the green shadow that we're going to be putting on next. Now we're using a cream shadow from Mary Kay called Meadow Grass, not Metal. You can skip this step. I feel like it was kind of useless. Now I'm just using a single Mary Kay eyeshadow. It's a lime green and it's sparkly. You can use whatever shadow you want, and you can use a matte green shadow if you're more happy with that. So now I'm just blending things out a little bit more, and I'm adding some purples and blues back now, just to bring back some of the pigment. And I'm blending them out again. That's mainly the key to this, just blending things out. So now I'm taking Queen on a flat brush and I'm putting it on the inner corner, because the cool toned eye definitely ended up a bit more shimmery and I wanted to kind of even it out. And now I'm taking the shade Jada under my eye. And this is the last step. I use simple micellar water and cotton balls. And what I do is I just rub them underneath the eye to make it like a cleaner and kind of just like one line instead of just like this blended mess. You can skip that if you like the more blended look. For primer today, I'm using the NYX Angel Veil Primer. I'm also using another primer, which I'll show later. For the NYX, I put it on my forehead and my cheeks, which are where I really need like my pores to be covered, my T-zone, and the other primer I used is my e.l.f. Poreless Primer, which is a little bit more moisturizing, so I put that on the perimeter of my face. For foundation, I mixed my L'Oreal Infallible Total Cover in the shade 301 and my L'Oreal True Match in the shade N1. And I used my e.l.f. angled brush to put that on my face and mix it. And once I'm done just spreading that all over my face and down my neck, I'll be taking the same Morphe sponge I used earlier to blend it out. And I did realize that this is a bit too light for me, but I'll show you guys how I fix that later in the video. For concealer, I use the LA Girl Pro Conceal HD High Definition Concealer in the shade Light Ivory, which does look kind of orange, but once you blend it out, it isn't that bad. This is darker than the foundation though, which did kind of fix the foundation being too fair for me. And also putting on my bronzer and all that stuff helped too. For setting powder, I'm using the Mary Kay loose setting powder in the shade Ivory. And again, I'm just dusting that all over. I only use one setting powder. For bronzer, I use my Physicians Formula bronzer on a Wet n Wild angled fluffy brush. And my bronzer is in the shade Bronzer. There are, I think, 4 shades. And using a ton of bronzer did help kind of make my skin look less pale. Which is why you can kind of see me lightly dusting it kind of all over my face. And to darken up like my cheekbones, I used my Maybelline Master Contour Face Contouring Kit. And mine is in the shade for light to medium skin tones. They have a darker one, but if you are a very dark girl, it will not work on you. And I tried to nose contour at the end. I just kind of ended up blending it out with the Wet n Wild angled brush. And then I used the blush shade from the Master Contour Kit. I didn't use the highlight shade though. I do not like the highlight shade in here, but it could work if you're into natural, like subtle, barely there highlight. The highlight I did use though is my Sleek Makeup highlighting palette in the shade Solstice. I believe they have 3 highlighter palettes. And I just used the orange and purple shades in it. And I would like to mention, I forgot to do my mascara on camera, but I used my Maybelline The Falsies Volume Mascara. For setting spray, I have my Flower Beauty Hydrate and Set Spray, and I just fanned that with a Jaclyn Hill palette. Here's me figuring out what I'm going to use for lips. It took a long time. I decided to use my e.l.f. lip plumping gloss in the shade Mocha Twist. And that's it for the tutorial part. Thanks for watching today's tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I really like how this look turned out. And if you want to see more, you can always follow me and subscribe. Turn on my notification bell. My schedule is changing due to school starting up again. My other links are in my bio or description. Be sure to give this a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Bye!